can simplify expressions by using distribution and combining like terms. All right, so if you are looking at this video or you're looking at your cards, the first thing you're going to see is two worked out examples. So we've got one with distribution and one with combining like terms. Okay, distribution means you take whatever is on the outside of the parentheses and you multiply it by all of the terms on the inside of the parentheses. So -3 times 4 is -12. -3 times -1 is +3. Boom, that one is done. Down below that, we have a completely worked out example of combining like terms. And the method that we use for that is making a T-chart, where basically we draw this T shape and then we separate the terms that we have in our expression. So we put the 5x on the x side, the +6 on the number side, the -2x on the x side, the -15 on the number side. And then we just use Desmos to simplify each column. So if I have 5 x's minus 2 x's, that's how I end up with 3 x's. And if I have +6 minus 15, that's how I end up with -9. Bring it up here, boom, answer. Okay. The time that this gets a little bit trickier is if you have to do both, because you have to remember the order to do this work in. So the first step is distribute. So I'm going to do -2 times x, which is just going to give me -2x. And then I'm going to do -2 times -4, which gives me +8. Now, I'm not done. There's this whole other part of the expression that I still have left that I didn't distribute to. So I'm going to just bring that down. Plus 7x minus 1. Then, after I've distributed, I'm going to check that off. I'm going to combine like terms. So let me make my T-chart with my X column and my number column, and then I'm going to sort each of my terms. So -2x goes in the X column, +8 goes in the number column, plus 7x goes in the X column, and -1 goes in the number column. And it is super, super important to make sure that you get those symbols every time. Okay, if you leave out a plus or a minus, it could completely mess up your entire problem. And I would hate for you to do all this work for nothing. So let's go to handy dandy Desmos. -2 plus 7 is 5. Don't forget to put the x. And then 8, or you can even type +8, like with the plus sign, that's fine. -1 gives me +7. And my answer, I'm going to rewrite it up here, is 5x plus 7. Remember, when we're simplifying an expression, we're not solving. So we have to do some work by hand. We can't just do it in Desmos. And also, we're not just going to get a single number most of the time. We're going to end up with an expression, meaning we're going to have a term with a variable and a term without. Okay? Or at least that's what it means in this case. Let's look at, I think we have 2 examples. So this is very similar to what we just did, except now our distribution is in the middle of the problem, which can sometimes create issues or get a little bit trickier. So I'm going to distribute, but when I distribute, I am not using the m and I am not using the -22. I am only using that part in the middle. So I'm going to get rid of all those marks, but just keep that in mind. I'm going to do 2 times 3m, which is 6m. And then I'm going to do 2 times 5, which is 10. And then I'm not done. I'm actually surprised that's not an answer choice, because a lot of the time the people who make these questions will try to trick you by putting that as an answer choice. But I need to bring down this m out front, and I need to bring down the -22 from the end. And then I can make my T-chart. So this time I've got an m and I've got numbers, and I've got plain M, plus 6M plus 10 minus 22. And then I'm going to use Desmos, but I do need to remember that a plain variable like this M means that I actually have one of those. So I have 1M plus 6M, which is 7M. And then on the next line, I'll do the 10, or I can type positive 10 minus 22, which is negative 12. So my answer is 7M minus 12D. All right, last one says identify the expression that is not equivalent to 3x minus 4. Now, this one is not super fun because there are 4 choices here, and basically the best way to do this is to go through all 4 choices and simplify them, which can take time, but it's something we can definitely do. And I know some of you are going to look at this and you're going to be able to pick the answer out quicker than I'm going to do this work, but I'm going to do the work anyways, okay? So I'm going to simplify choice A up here in this space. There are no parentheses here, so I'm going to need a T-chart for X's and for numbers. Okay, and I'm actually going to pause the video so that this will go by super fast for you. All right, I'm back. How quick was that? I did my T-chart. I added up all my X's. I have my -4, which means this expression does equal 3x minus 4. So that is not going to be my answer. All right, let's try the second one right here. This one is distribution, so I don't think I need to pause here. We can just use Desmos. 1/3 times 9 gives me 3. Remember to put the x with it. And then 1/3 times -12 gives me -4. So that one also equals 3x minus 4, which means that one's not my answer either. That looks like a check. Okay, there we go. Now, the third one, I don't have parentheses, so I am going to have to make my T-chart. So let me pause and do that, and I'll be right back. All right, I didn't finish my T-chart because I see where this is going. I've got everything separated, but when I do -5 plus 2, that gives me -3x. And then, of course, I bring down the -4, which means this expression is not equivalent to 3x minus 4. So that's going to be my answer. But let's talk about D for a second. D looks a little bit different than 3x minus 4, but that's just because they took the 2 terms from the original thing and switched them around. Okay, there's a name for that. It's actually called the commutative property, but you are allowed to do that and it doesn't change anything about the expression. So A was equivalent, B was equivalent, D was equivalent, C is our answer. And that means we are done.